What's up, everybody, and welcome to ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. I'm Drew Bosley. You can find me on Twitter at ArtisticGamer28, and that's the one and the only is Scott Savage. You can find him on Twitter at Savage. Scott, what's going on, buddy?
You know, I have to flex on everybody today because I had a nice upgrade in my Siege setup. So I have this beautiful headset, and that'll up your game on Siege alone. And now I have this Elite controller.
Ooh.
Series 2, I believe. And
big difference,
let me tell you, that's some fun.
I told you, dude, I've been talking about the Elite controller for I don't know how long now, and I've said right from the get-go, like, this is a game changer for my Siege experience. Just the ability to manipulate some of those buttons, man, means life or death. And I'm telling you, what an experience.
The crouch leans. Now I can be that character on the game. Well, and I've had Xbox profile for about 16 years now. I thought, you know what, maybe it's time.
Maybe it is time, Scott. You know what it's time for? Today's episode, where people can join us live Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/theofficial ITG, as well as YouTube at ITG. But if you can't join us live, hit us up later inside the game.ca podcast services and TV streaming networks around the globe. Scott, today's show is a unique show. This is, some days we got some hot topics. Today is one of those days we got a couple hot topics and a whole lot of updates, like a ton of updates in today's show. It's a weird one, but let's get into it because CD Projekt Red looks to make a return with Cyberpunk 2077 in 2023. New details of where Call of Duty is heading in 2024 in Xbox. Well, they look to help me out, and I'm pretty excited. I'll talk about that in a second.
Talking about Siege specifically is where this one comes up, but we'll get there.
We will certainly get there, dude. Let's get into it as Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty is the only planned expansion for the game, says the developer. Ooh, really, Scott? That's a big one, man. That's I'm surprised.
Well, they started off with a lot of big dreams there, and I suspect that's why it's not going to live that long.
Yeah, this comes from Michael over at PSU. CD Projekt Red has revealed that the upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty DLC is the only planned expansion for the epic sci-fi title, which means we may not see any additional story content for the game. The Phantom Liberty expansion was announced during the other day's Night City Wire event, where CDPR also confirmed the release of Cyberpunk 2077 update 1.6. The studio, however, appeared to confirm on YouTube to a comment that expansion is the only one in the pipeline. Weird, dude. User Joanna commented, quote, "I'm quite intrigued by this expansion. I hope in the future more will come out since the game has a lot of potential," end quote. In response, the official Cyberpunk 2077 account added, quote, "Glad to hear we sparked your interest. As for the future, Phantom Liberty is the only planned expansion for Cyberpunk 2077. Scott, what happened?
Well, no surprise that it didn't land as it should have. And everybody, we'll be talking about that for a decade or more.
Man,
but
right?
Maybe that took the wind out of their sails and they're deciding to wrap it up a little sooner than expected. And
well,
I can only hope that that's best for the developers, specifically the ones on the team that have been kind of saddled nursing this bruise.
Yeah, fair enough. They had a bit of there was a 10-minute presentation over on YouTube talking about, their plans, all this other stuff that's coming around for the game, which is really just the DLC, a mobile game. And but other question is, where's the multiplayer?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Wasn't there supposed to be a multiplayer that they talked about at length?
Exactly. They have big plans. Now I wonder, obviously because of the fiasco behind Cyberpunk 2077's launch, it adjusted their outcome and their scope of what they could do when they could do it. They had a whole timeline of when things were going to launch, right? Dude, took them 2 years to fix the game. That takes a lot of resources and a lot of money away from the grander scope of where they're going to take Cyberpunk. Obviously, it didn't pan out well enough. Do you think Cyberpunk at this point is dead?
I think it is for a very long time. This particular title, I think this will be the last expansion. I don't think they'll change their course on that one. But given the reception, and perhaps if we talk about it in a year and what things people kind of remember about it,
Yeah.
I could see it getting another sequel in the near-ish future, but we're still many years out because it's going to take them a while to make this decision and then start development.
Well,
Because
even
there's no development started at the moment. I'm sure.
it's going to be one of those things when they announce they're working on the next whatever Cyberpunk experience that's going to be. It will just foray a whole bunch of memories for everybody of going, hey, do you remember the first game, how that launched and how bad that was and how this was broken, how they took it off the PlayStation Store? Like, it's just going to snowball into something, right? So do they now just go, we're going to walk away from Cyberpunk 2077 and let's move on to something new, something fresh? Or do they go back into the Witcher series, Scott? Like, are we going to see a Witcher 4?
I think Witcher would be a very safe place to begin, but do you go back off of a loss like this? Does that poison The Witcher in any sort of way? It kind of confuses the two properties in the memory of the fans, because I don't want the next Witcher to appear anything like Cyberpunk did on launch.
No, not at all.
They need to keep something, their flagship, going, in my opinion.
If No Man's Sky can turn around what that game used to be compared to what it is now, dude, it's a juggernaut in the industry, right? Like, the way Hello Games was able to fix the hopes, dreams, promises of what No Man's Sky was meant to be at launch to where it is now, like, they're completely two different games. Can CD Projekt Red not just do the same thing here when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077 and say, hey, look it, we know we screwed up. We made a lot of mistakes here. This is a brand new IP for us. This is a world we're building from the ground up, from scratch. They now have also partnered with Epic to work on to bring everything over to Unreal Engine 5, so they don't have to worry about their internal engine anymore, right? They're able to kind of go away with that. Let's just use Unreal Engine 5 and move forward with that, whatever we're building next. Or can they build Cyberpunk 2078 with it or something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think they're readdressing a lot because of this fallout, and I think there's only positive things to be gained from that. It's just where do they move in the immediate future? Because that's a very good question. Do you go, if it's not DLC for Cyberpunk, if they do kind of close the book on that one?
Yeah.
Well, where does that leave them?
You could start fresh, right? But then do you lose? Yeah, I think if you start something new, I think you're going to make a lot of fans nervous. Even though starting on, say, The Witcher 4 would still make fans nervous, but they know what to somewhat expect with The Witcher, right? That's a high pedigree they'll have to meet when it comes to what they accomplished with The Witcher 3. There's a lot of people who know who CD Projekt Red is because of The Witcher 3 and the Witcher franchise, right? So when we got into Cyberpunk, everybody had huge, massive expectations of what that game should have been at launch. And obviously it's not the case when it happened, but it was something they built, something they never created before. And everything was brand new, from the way they moved to the perspective of how their game played and everything else in between. It's just, dude, what happens next?
A lot of variables that a lot of nervous variables into what went into Cyberpunk. It was way too ambitious for its own good. And
sure.
That hurt the whole company. But I think you can't go into The Witcher and make those kind of changes. So it wouldn't make sense. So I feel like that is definitely the safer option.
Yeah. Heading back in, though, to the DLC, the Phantom Liberty, it is apparently a new cast of characters. There is V's voice in the trailer. So you can, as the female protagonist in that case, which lines up with my V, which was funny because I was talking to Brad, Northern Nerdcast, and he talked about how he wanted the male voice and I was the female voice, but yet the candid voice is the female protagonist moving forward.
Yeah.
But a new cast of characters. This is almost somewhat like a bit of a fresh start in a sense, and not going back to the original cast. Keanu Reeves is back though, Johnny Silverhand. If you beat the game, there's a couple questions on that as to how. We'll go with that.
I still haven't beat the game. I have a lot of catching up to do.
I skated around, but just some weird things like, really? Okay, well, we'll see how this works, right? But Scott, is this enough?
You mentioned Joanna, and now I'm thinking Joanna Dark. If Joanna
Ah!
Dark and Datadyne made its way into Cyberpunk, of course it can't happen, but that would be
No.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I would buy that for $1, and I've used that term before.
Is the DLC enough to bring you back, Scott? And this is lining up for 2023, not this year.
I think that times out well with me and probably a lot of consumers because we've had a whole year of absolutely massive releases. This is another game, one of dozens that I haven't been able to complete. I'm looking at Elden Ring. So perhaps by 2023, things will have cooled off enough for me. Then again, we're walking into God of War. So it's...
Man,
the fun never stops. But I am very curious to get through Cyberpunk. I want to spend the time, and this might be kind of my foot in.
I think I want to go back just to see the amount of changes and see, is it worth it? Have they really kind of fixed it? And if they have, what does that mean for the future of Cyberpunk, right? Like there's a lot of questions right now around what the scope and where the scale and where the company is going to take the IP, or are they just going to let it sail now and then let it live in its own world and leave it over there by itself and then move on, which we should probably do with Call of Duty, Scott. As Call of Duty 2024's story reportedly covers the Iraq War. Dude, Call of Duty always up to something, right? They've covered some of the most prolific timepieces around when it comes to wars and things along that nature. It's Call of Duty. And some people remember, dude, you remember the airport scene?
Yeah. Remember, no Russian.
Man, there's so many of them, right?
No, that was a futuristic sort of war in totally fictional. And that's worth noting because if this goes to the Iraq War, it seemingly is the Iraq War that we know of from our own real world history, which in my opinion is a lot more depressing than if they had gone for this pseudo Zakhaev Makarov. But you can't do that in today's era either because of our current political climate. You can't have the big bad guy being an Eastern Bloc country.
No, which makes sense, right? Yeah, there's a lot. It's funny as I'm curious how they kind of gauge this, and how they don't honestly just tick off so many people.
Well, the Iraq War is so fresh in our memory, where there's an argument to be made of World War II games being disrespectful inherently. And sure. I can kind of understand that, but then again, I'm a whole 2 generations removed from that conflict, so it's not personally effective. But the Iraq War, began 20 years ago, ended arguably still not yet. So it's it's very current, and I feel like it's gonna rub a lot of people the wrong way, specifically because of the level, the fidelity, the graphics, the realism they put behind it.
Well, Call of Duty, Activision Blizzard, right? They really step up, dude. The Cold War saga that they brought into with Black Ops is one of my favorite to play. Right? It's just such an experience, and it's just they got to do a lot of skating around certain situations, I think, just so it doesn't get too
real.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, dude, this is a video game, right? Like this isn't real life. This is just a game. We're just there to supposedly experience a good time, or depending on how the story's told, right? But there's just a lot of things. But let's get into the article from Cade over at comicbook.com. Call of Duty's 2024's setting may have leaked online thanks to a prominent Call of Duty insider. The Call of Duty series has covered a lot of the most prolific wars in recent history. The franchise started in World War II before eventually making the jump into the modern day and then jumped back in to the Vietnam and Cold War. Once people started to demand a bigger change from the series, Call of Duty went to the future and even space, resulting in a rather controversial era for the series. Dude, a lot of people not really liking the whole outer space stuff.
Infinite, but in hindsight, it was actually not so bad.
The 2022 entry will take players back to a familiar setting with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, which we are excited for, eh, Scott?
Oh, I am.
Yeah, absolutely. A game that will deal with things like drug cartels and terrorism. However, some fans are already trying to figure out what will come next. According to Call of Duty leaker The Ghost of Hope, very well known for leaking Call of Duty info. Call of Duty 2024 will be set in the early to late 2000s. Scott, as it will cover Operation Enduring Freedom in the Iraq War. These two operations imply the game will directly pull from history and possibly address things like 9/11, the desire to find and destroy Iraq's WMDs, and much more. Scott, do you think they will really tackle the 9/11 fiasco of what happened and the tragedy behind that?
I'm hoping they don't directly. There's nothing wrong with setting it up and making mention of it. Perhaps the intro video to the game has to set it up in some capacity, but I'm hoping it opens up with the invasion of Iraq, which is Americans steal so much it blots out the sun.
Well, okay, let's go. Dude, I want to talk about Spider-Man just for a brief second. When they were releasing Spider-Man, the movie, I believe it was the movie, dude, the spiderweb went up between the Twin Towers. And then 9/11 happened, and they removed that altogether, right? Like, they took that part out just because, dude, like, that was such a...
It wasn't gonna excite or make anybody happy.
No, right? So I'm man, we'll see what happens here. It's definitely a very sensitive topic for
very
good reason. It was very awkward,
you want to be respectful. You want to be respectful about what happened, these events. And they do, seemingly they're going to be relevant in the story, but you don't want to make light of it.
No.
It's very thin path to tread.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see how Activision Blizzard kind of walks that fine line of being sensitive, emotional, having empathy for the whole situation. And I think they've got the right minds to be able to do that. Scott, they've tackled the war era and everything sensitive beforehand. Whether or not people like it is just meant to be seen still, especially with a couple other things. And where this next one is coming, dude. Do we skip next year? Do we skip 2023?
Perhaps. I think that is the plan, actually, because there's success with was that Cold War that was delayed by a year or had a year of space between?
I think so. Yeah,
I think that worked out really well for them. So I hope they keep that, because we don't need a yearly Call of Duty, in my opinion.
No, it'd be nice to have a breather. I think, honestly, take a year off. And
well, I think they'll start calling it Call of Duty 2022, Call of Duty 2023. Soon. It'll be like an NHL release.
Yeah. Well, kind of, right? It has been. That's the franchise has been like that for so long. So the fact that they're looking to take a year off is kind of nice. Let that hype build.
Them to go back and remake Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1. Please. That is my absolute favorite one.
Well, at the other side of it too, don't think Call of Duty's going anywhere because they got Warzone 2 coming as well.
Oh yeah.
So you're still gonna have some kind of Call of Duty.
That'll fill up their coffers. This game could completely tank, and they'll still be coming around for another one.
Absolutely, Scott. Let's get into what Xbox is up to, because I'm pretty excited. Xbox noise suppression will remove breathing, clicks, and music in party chats. Tom Warren at The Verge. If anybody has known me, I hate listening to people eat. So it's
we have a joke internally that if I ever need to get fired, I can just eat a bag of Miss Vicky's over the mic. That would do it.
Yeah, Scott will no longer be on the show.
I'll just get an email an hour later.
Yo, I got good headphones, man. The last thing I want to listen to is people crunch on my ear. And
I believe that's misophonia is the technical term for that. And it's a real absolute. It's not even your fault. Is what I'm trying to say. The
term is it sucks, and you shouldn't chew in people's ears. But let's get into Tom's article. If you have Xbox friends that like to breathe heavily into the microphones, blast loud music in the background, or click loudly on their controller, the new Xbox noise suppression feature is here to save you. Thank you, Xbox.
That first point brought a name to mind.
Yo, Kyle, I'm gonna call Kyle out right now. That dude clicks when he was playing, what was it the other day? He was playing Multiverses. Dude, he was like smashing those buttons, which granted, that is the game and I understand
He's a button masher.
But it is very his mic like picks up everything. And it's just like right in my I was like, yo,
sounds
what are you
like Guitar
doing?
Hero over there. What's going on?
It was funny. He's like, yeah, I'm just playing this. I'm like, that's why. Okay. Which was fine because he wasn't chewing in my ear. Xbox Series X and S owners are getting an update today that has noise suppression during party chats to remove annoying clicks, background music, and breathing. Yo, I'm going to make sure this is on. Noise suppression is enabled by default, but Microsoft knows that it is easy to toggle on and off. Quote, if you want to keep some types of background noise in your parties, like music, you can also turn noise suppression off, end quote, explains the Xbox support note. There you go, Scott. Xbox looking out for me. Appreciate that.
Oh, it's a nice quality of life thing. How long has it been going on? Party chats in general, where this could have been implemented, but maybe wasn't important enough, didn't kind of ring the right bells. Now it's finally an improvement.
It's a much needed improvement.
I'm wondering if they can make my mic a little bit more sensitive, though, where it can pick me up, because that's the problem I've been having with my headset for inexplicable reasons. Dude. And I'll cut in and out. It's like it's a software issue.
That's weird. I don't know why it's doing that. But Scott, I'm going to skip the one article, and I want to move to PS5 receives big updates and highly requested new feature. So I said, this show is all about updates. This comes from Sharif or VG247. The new PlayStation 5 firmware update rolled out this morning to all owners. The official release from the latest major update, which entered beta late in July. All the features announced then have carried over, available to experience by anyone and everyone. The biggest new addition, though, Scott, is 1440p.
A little bit of a higher resolution. I think that's specifically with PC monitors, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. They're bringing it over so you can, if you are connected to a monitor, my nephew's connected to a monitor on his setup, so that now allows him to just connect straight to 1440p and away he goes. The other addition is 3D audio sound is now available, which makes things a lot easier for picking up cues in like Siege, Scott. Because I'm telling you, what a difference that makes.
Again, I have to flex that headset. The mic problems are an issue, but I do have like a super hearing mode. I think that's almost cheating.
Almost, but it works, and I love it. And the other last thing is an implementation of they call it game lists, dude. It's folders. I'm just saying, it's folders. But you don't need folders because the PS5 hard drive is too small to have 100 games. So I'm telling you, dude. Here, okay, you ready for this? Austin downloaded NBA 2K23, right?
Yeah.
Ready? It's 150 gigs. 150 gigs on my hard drive, dude. It's filled up to one game. Hello, Call of Duty.
That's what I've been looking at. I have Call of Duty. It's like Cold War or Vanguard or Modern Warfare. Pick one.
Where's that external hard drive? I need to attach something, Scott. I'm running out of space. Man.
Frustratingly, that was my last purchase for my Xbox, and it doesn't handle Series X and S games. The console I bought it for, the one it was branded for. I'm not sure I understand that. It does benefit me, though, however, because I'm essentially a collector since the 360 era. So
there's a lot of old games you can run off of it. You just can't run the Series X or S games off of it, and that's what I'm really looking for, right? Is to be able to load up, because right now, Kyle texted me the other day too. Red Dead has an update coming. I was like, man, no way. So I gotta now clear another 100 gigs or so off my Xbox.
I think I've read on that. They added some missions. They changed some ways of making money, and I believe they kind of tweaked the rates. Rate dropped.
I was like, crap. That means another game I got to jump back into, dude.
I'm looking at Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's another one we got to do stuff.
Grand Theft Auto 5-3.
Dude, so let's say you put NBA on there, 2K23 on my Xbox. You put Grand Theft Auto, and you put Red Dead on there. That's like 350, 400 gigs right there.
Out of a possible 900, I believe, is standard. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's like 800 or something. Yeah, it's weird. But anyway, Scott, we do have a couple of games out today, dude. What do we have?
We have Jack Move on PC and Steel Rising on Xbox Series XS, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Dude, I want to check that one out. That one looks really cool.
It reminds me of Red Steel, just in title, on the Wii. Okay. But that feels like 100 years ago
now. Well, Scott, just like that, buddy, it's another show. This has been ITG Daily, the show that brings you the hottest in gaming news. You can always join us live at 11 a.m. Eastern over on twitch.tv/theofficial ITG, as well as YouTube at ITG. But if you can't join us live, hit us up later inside the game.ca, podcast services, and TV streaming networks around the globe. Until tomorrow, everybody, I'm Drew, that's Scott, and we'll see you inside the game.